not sure what I will say. I have prepared a speech, but I hope the following will flow from my heart instead of my head. First of all, a couple corrections to my bio. As of a few weeks ago, I was the managing partner of Matrix Partners China, which I co-founded about 10 years ago, and somewhat to my surprise, has become super successful. And we have invested in over 20 unicorns, and one of which is Didi Kuaidi, which bought Uber China for about $10 billion a couple years ago. But that should be in the past tense, because a few weeks ago, I told my partners that I'm no longer making active investments. Instead, I would like to utilize the fortune that I've been gifted with and use it for good. And I like to spend the second half of my life using the capital that has been accumulated for doing good in the world, for reducing suffering in this world. So I started a family foundation, and along with my co-founder Oleg and my friend, one of the things that we are doing is this foundation is devoting about $100 million as a first project to invest in a special type of entrepreneurs. These entrepreneurs also will aim to create a different kind of company. These entrepreneurs are first and foremost interested in the inner work first, that their own journey toward freedom and toward wholeness. And they also then will be using technology to enable other people to be on the same journey and to facilitate their growth as well. So somewhat to my surprise, I sent a message through the social media in China called WeChat to about the 380 CEOs that our fund invested in as a sort of a goodbye notice. Overnight, this happened last week, overnight, this message got forwarded probably over 10 million times in the Chinese internet sphere. And virtually every technology entrepreneur, venture capitalist received this message probably more than a dozen times. I was really very surprised. And I was very touched because it gave me optimism that even in a place perhaps even more money-driven than Silicon Valley, which is China, that people really do care. Every single person care about opening and freedom and wholeness and healing. But they need to be given the permission and be given the tools to grow and to heal. And that's what I hope that we will be using technology for, and that's what I hope that we will be able to support entrepreneurs to do that. And not give pressure to entrepreneurs to maximize profit, because that should not be the only reason of business, but unfortunately, shareholder value, fiduciary duty is the only thing talked about in the context of business. Now, we hope through our foundation and through the fund that we are creating that we can enable entrepreneurs to keep their true mission and to help them grow together with the company, but in a way that's mission-driven and not somehow be diverted from their mission due to shareholders' pressure or board pressure. I'd like to talk more about the fund, but I want to thank you. I would love to tell you more about the fund, and if you want to find out more, you can go to Evolve Foundation's website. But I'd like to tell you more about myself first. And I want to share my story with you and tell you why I'm doing this and where I hope things will become. I was born in China 44 years ago, and I was born in a poor family, but like everybody else in China, we were poor. But I was very good at math, and I won lots of national math competitions, and then won a scholarship to go to Harvard College. My flight to Harvard was the first flight I've ever taken in my life. The phone call I made when I was transferring Los Angeles to home was the first phone call ever made on the public telephone using coins. And I was very fortunate that after staying in the US, studying in college and business school, I went back to China to start a company, and I sold that company 4 years later to eBay for a few $100 million, and I retired at the old age of 29 years old. And then after that, a few years later, I started the venture capital firm I mentioned earlier. Now, what happened was my inner journey started more recently, 14 years ago. And there was 2 reasons, if I look back, that got me started on the inner journey. I started my inner journey really kicking and screaming, not even wanting to do it. And my friend Oleg was the person who really helped me to start on that journey. And I think there are 2 reasons, other than his persistence, that got me here today. One was I was at the pinnacle of what everybody would dream of: money, fame. For a while, I was one of the richest people in China. I certainly was the richest person out of my Harvard graduating class, for sure, both out of college and business school. But I felt empty. I wasn't truly joyful or happy. And I kept thinking, is this what we all dream of? Like, I could start another company and make another $1 billion, whatever, but I know that's not going to be any different. That I'd still be the same. I still was not free. I had financial freedom, but I did not feel free. And I kept asking, can this just be it? That's the whole purpose of life? That's all we strive for? And the second reason I started the journey was when I became a father. And I noticed that even though I love my kids, I was treating them in many ways very badly. I was a terrible father. And I didn't know what to do. I remember one time when my son hit his younger sister, despite my many times telling him not to. I lost it and spanked him. And that wasn't the first time I spanked him. And I remember after spanking him, that I felt like I wanted to die. It's just he was crying, and I just wanted to collapse on the ground but I didn't know what to do. I knew my father did it to me, but I should have not done it, but I keep doing it. I couldn't help myself. I was very confused. I had everything in the life, but I didn't feel like I really was living the life I was meant to live. So I started the journey with help of my friends and my teachers of meditation, mindfulness. I follow a particular path called Diamond Approach, which is informed by modern psychology and Sufism and Vedanta. And also, I've been fortunate to met many good teachers. And I think I made 4 discoveries I'd like to share with you that has driven me to do what I'm doing today. The first discovery is who I thought I was is not the real me. That I, like all of you, built a shell around me. That the shell was meant to please my parents and other people, and the shell was to prevent me from feeling hurt by other people. And I actually even remember the specific moment that felt like, oh, I really need to perform for other people. That was a moment when I won my first math competition. The night before, my father brought home some ketchup. We were very poor. This is the first time ever we have seen a bottle of ketchup in China, in my home. So without his knowledge, I took a taste of it. And when he found out, he was very upset at me. He probably spanked me. And the next day, I came home, and I asked him, he looked really in good mood. I asked him, can I have another taste of the ketchup? And then normally I would never dare, but he looked so happy that for some reason, despite myself, I asked that question. And he said, Bo, you can have as much ketchup as you want. I was shocked. I was so shocked. And I mean, he never, I was expecting him either to scold me or and then he came down and hugged me. Came to his knees and hugged me. And then a few minutes later, he told me that I won the mass competition in Shanghai. I was number one, clear number one in Shanghai, which is like a city of 15 million people. To make a long story short, I went on to win more than a dozen national mass competitions in China. But I developed a belief from that moment on that to get love and for people to see me, I need to be number one. And that belief is still somewhat in me today, despite all the work I have done. That's very hard for me to believe other people will want to be with me unless I'm somehow number one or somehow special. The second discovery, let me finish the first discovery. Then I discovered actually there is a real me inside, that I might not be in touch with it all the time, but in the moments when I'm truly free, when I'm really this consciousness, there's nothing else is needed. All the questions go away. And I wish I could have that divine, close to divinity all the time, but just a few times of taste, and hopefully more and more, is pretty amazing and pretty profound. So that's the first discovery. I'm running out of time. I need to hurry up a little bit, looks like. There's still 3 more discoveries to go. So the second discovery is that the heart matters more than the mind. And that's a hard thing for me to believe. I didn't even really know the heart exists. I know I closed my heart, now thinking back, when I was very young. I remember there was a specific moment when I was crying because my father was very unreasonable and unleashed his fury on me for something that I'm sure I wasn't wrong about. I think even when I was young, I understood if he was angry and I did something wrong, okay, maybe he loved me, he wanted to correct me. But that was one moment I remember, he was really upset at me, and I didn't do anything wrong. He just couldn't control his rage, and he was hurting me. And I remember there was this clunk, shutting down feeling I changed my worldview at that particular moment, that people are not necessarily good. I need to protect myself. And I've been protecting myself for many, many years until the first time when I met my wife, but that's a different story, which I won't get into. But when I felt, and I think all of you in this room, when you feel your heart open, it's the most beautiful and most profound experience one could have. And that's an experience that I hope that through the use of entrepreneurship and technology, that we could use the tools that we've been given, not just so that people get glued to their flat screens that Tristan so eloquently talked about, that we can use technology to enable people to open their hearts. And I think it's possible. Third discovery is that when one's heart opens, wisdom flows through. And that sounds counterintuitive, particularly in Silicon Valley, where basically many people are computers walking on a stick. And I was one of them, for sure. And what I discovered is that the mind is very powerful, and our human beings been bestowed a mind, can do wonderful things in this world. But this world has been increasingly being consumed by the mind, and it's incomplete. And this incompleteness is creating all these problems in this world, whether it's environmental or Facebook or whatnot. It's the root. In some ways, the lack of wisdom that flows through the heart is one of the deepest problems we face today. I remember recently reading that Steven Pinker's book. A professor at Harvard talks about the decline of violence in the world and quote-unquote enlightenment. And Bill Gates says it's his favorite book of all time. And I think that's somewhat misguided. I think that Steven Pinker talks about is scientific rationalism, which is great, but there's the hard component, our interconnection, where the wisdom flows through, a different kind of wisdom flow through than the intellect. And that's something that's lacking in the world. And if all we focus on is scientific rationalism, this world would not be a good place to be. The fourth discovery, and the final one, is that it's actually possible to enable other people to help them to grow. It's not just in the form of a teacher. I can never be, well, I'm not sure I can be a teacher. I have many great teachers who conduct that role. But also it's possible to use technology to enable people to grow. I've been fortunate, and my partner Oleg has been fortunate together that we've been meeting with some of the really incredible entrepreneurs who both have the business skills, but also heart wide open and who are using technology for doing good. I can give you some examples, such as Parent Lab, which is creating an app for parenting that combines psychology, psychiatry, mindfulness, spirituality into an app that's very easy to consume for parents. Content can easily consume parents. And parenting is one of the most important jobs we can do, and there's no training and preparation for. Another one is a meditation app called Insight Timer that connects thousands of teachers with millions of meditators and enable the teachers to reach the students and deliver their teaching. Another one is OJ Life Lab, which is to take this content into corporations to teach emotional learning and emotional quotient and also mindfulness into corporations. Yet another one is distributing tablets in the prison system so that the 2.5 million inmates can use the tablets to learn about social emotional learning, anger control, management, and mindfulness, etc. There are many things technology can do that can be wonderful for this world. Technology can be used for, as Tristan says, to engage us and to sell our engagement. I'm not saying it as eloquently as he does, but technology can also really help us to open our hearts and enable people to learn the wisdoms that they naturally have. I'm not sure what my life will lead to. That's what I was saying in the bio. Increasingly, I do now. And it has been a journey that's taken me for 10 years, and I hope to continue to be on. And one of the things I've learned is that my own development, the level of my own development, will determine how much good I can do. The ego, as one of my teachers said, is a very tricky bastard. It's very easy to be doing good and by being consumed by the ego. I remember a year ago when I started doing philanthropy that I met a couple of friends who are young and doing great things. I think both of them in this room. They're doing great things with their life. They are 10 years younger than me. They don't have nearly as much resources than I do, and they're doing great. They're having so much impact on the world. And my first reaction when I met them was distress. It was total distress. And at that moment, I realized, wow, unless I can continue to work on myself, I will not be doing the good I'm meant to do, that I could do. And I think that applies to so many of us, including the people who are far more successful than I am, that the amount of good we do is limited by the amount of work we do on ourselves. And in some ways, working on oneself and learning how to love oneself is the most selfless thing one can do. And with that, I will end my talk exactly on time. And I just want to express my gratitude to all of you in this room, because sometimes I still have doubts about what I do, about the journey I'm on, and being here, having the support from all of you is transformative for me. And I thank you for all of you for being here, and I look forward to journeying together with all of you going forward, hearts wide open. Thank you.